Hello Ramakrishna. Good afternoon. This is Swedish Senior Trainer and International Master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State session to this intermediate training session. I will continue with the topic pawn cover of the king. This is very interesting for attacking players and also will be very instructive for those players who are not attacking but positional and solid players. Now, I present to you about 30 plus games today and the positions I will discuss. The first I pick up Zero versus Grid. So it is a Sicilian four knights game. The standard main line. Now if black plays BB4, knight D6 check is coming, and after BB4, A3 is the main line, and bishop into C3, knight C3 is a line. This is the main line. And D6 check is not great because of King E7. Black has little better game. A3 is the correct line. This is necessary. Otherwise, BG5 will come and it will be difficult for white black. The main line is to play pawn into pawn and then BD3. Pawn takes pawn, BD3, D4, knight E2. But Zero goes for a different variation. Now white has got a better center, and black, sorry, white can make a pawn break at F4 anytime later. Necessary before the pawn break, white wants to safeguard the G4 square and taking away from his knight and bishop of black. Now F4 break will come obviously. The main idea of the move, there is no direct attack but provoking a weakness. Now the pawn cover of the king will be compromised. Black king. Okay, if you will play knight f6 back again, queen is better placed on the f-line. And eventually, he will put pressure to ke1 with a clear better game. So, knight f6 is not good. So, g6. Trying to solve the problem. Now, here it was better to play here f6. Covering up as many squares and taking away from white's small minor pieces. Of course, the king position is black king position is more vulnerable because after e5 he can close the game with d5 f5. It was better, but he is trying to play queen f6 idea. Queen g7 will offer queen exchange, but it's a wrong strategy for black. Now you cannot play f6, so you place knight e5 and covering up that square. Want to eliminate as many pieces as possible. This is the point. Now white has four active pieces and capturing the knight, the black king will be in jeopardy. So because pawn into the bishop will be attacked also. Gf5 is bad. Pawn into pawn mate. No time to take the queen. One piece up and I mean not a piece up exactly, but a disastrous piece. So he wanted to avoid that. Even rook a e1 is also okay, but white wants to avoid pieces because he is attacking. So now simply want to double on the line. There is no time to take the rook. If you play knight into, then check, and then discover check, and queen h7 threat, discover check is a threat. It will be winning easily. So no time to take the rook, must take. Now rook enters 7th rank. You can see the pawn cover of the king is no more good, and rook g7 followed by rook double or 7th rank, or rook into h7 will finish the game. The whole point is, actually it is important that the f6 would have survived a longer period, though the pawn cover of the king is more compromised. The Anand versus Timan. No, among the world champions, Mikhail Tal, he has given maximum number of sacrifices. Among the world champions I'm talking. Then I would put Vijay Anand on the second number. He has always tried to take initiative on the opponent's king and compromising the castle position and giving, exploiting the open lines. Now the simple threat is knight and d5, knight into c6 and pawn e5. So black covers it. My plan is to play a quick g4, h4 and pawn storming. And Anand won a similar game against Mithrakant in the, in the 1988 national at Naiville. The simple plan. He wants to return the g4, h4, bishop e3 and g5, h5 and crushing the opponent's king side. And knight into d4 and followed by bishop c6 is only helping white to bring more pieces into the center. And black will be without much counterplay on the king side, opponent king. The simple plan is to start pawn storming. Okay, it was possible to do castle, but that is inviting an attack. So, how long black white king will stay? On pawn into, now this b2 becomes a target. So, the simplest plan, king, there is a prophylactic move. Then white will start the attack. In the eventuality, after this, he can start h4 on rook b8. You can, or then he will play queen f5. You can play rook to b2. Black will be without a plan. White's plan cannot be stopped. White has got h5, g5 and is crushing. And black has no more plan. e5 is bad, d5 is bad, whatever you will do, it's bad. No weak point. So, pawn into is not a good idea. N4, bc4, rook c4. Now, he wants to bring the knight to king side. Just black, white is waiting for black to castle. Knight to h5 is bad because knight g3 will force the open h5. This is a bad move. Then ng3. Now g3 is bad, g6 is bad. So and you take, then you open up the h file and it is crossing for white. So cannot play that. Unfortunately, you will not be able to block the king side pawns. Forced rather. There is no time to play e5. And d5 comes with a decisive tempo. e5 is not possible. Still e5 is not working. Now want to pry open h5. G6 break is coming imminent. Now he is preparing to play e5 so that knight d5 is guarded. But it is too late because white strikes now at the castle pawn structure of black. Too late. Now e5 will not come. If you play e5, then ready-made We can take pawn into pawn and queen to come into g2 or see e5 is bad now. h6. Now h into g6. This is and then queen takes and queen coming and winning. And if you play fg6, no fg6 I should. If you play hg6, queen here is crushed. You will get the material with interest. Now any bind capture f4 on d4, pawn into g7 is lethal. There is no time for e5. And this is he has no time to take. No time to take bishop into. Queen s2 is overwhelming. Finish in a grand style. Now rook into g7, just a pawn cover. There is no pawn cover on. There is no pawn cover. And if you play king into check and knight into the too many threats in the air, winning the queen threat, then knight to e5 discover threat. I don't think I don't think any defense is possible. There is no time. So here he plays into check. So you can see there is no pawn cover. So this is a similar idea Anand had applied against Mitra Khan in the National 1988. Okay, I will show that game sometime later. So let me show the selected games which I picked up for you. The pawn cover of the king. Kasparov, after Bobby Fischer, is the second best ever player who mastered the art of playing Sicilian Master. He had analyzed almost every variation to the very end, to a great depth. Sometimes the analysis went 28, 30, 35 moves, almost till the end. And he had spotted the typical sacrifices for both sides. So, English attack. Nowadays, when you talk of Nasdor, there are mainly two lines. The old main line here is Bishop g5. Bishop g5 e6, then f4 queen f3 and long castle, etc. And the second main line today is English attack. And probably English attack is more popular because it is giving rise to a lot of complication and sharp lines for both sides. So Mosevisian goes for English attack. NG4 is possible, but it is not great. After NG4, BG5, 6, BH4, Z5, there is some activity, but black's king side will be compromised. He goes for the solid, well trodden line. Now, the debate is both sides will try to castle on the opposite wing, white on queen side, black on king side, and both will try to make pawn stop. But black has a ready-made half open line on the c5. Please note, and the b5 moves comes with a tempo many times. So white has to take extra care for that. It is better, I believe. Safer alternative is g4. G4 is a safer alternative. Waiting for black to come in. Now making a room. Since g5 is coming, now black is making a room for the f6 knight at d7. Necessary. In c4 is not good because the b7 bishop is blocking the b file and it is not ideally placed. In c4, bc4 and white is ahead in the race. So, all right. Now, what a move. Now, destroying the castle structure of white. fact, this investment is not risky because you are getting a knight, and most likely black will pick up the double pawn since queen, knight, and rook will come, and a4 is coming, queen and black bishop will be coming. So very likely he will pick up one more pawn. So the material deficit is little. You are giving rook for knight and a pawn. So this is not so serious, but the king position is compromised. And in the retrospect, white has no particular target in the black. Hello, Kamakshi Vastu, Ramakrishna, and Praveen, Pariya, and Arun Master. Okay, Kanak. White is trying to hang on to the pawn as much as possible. Apart from putting pressure on the b6, defending the pawn, let it be temporary. There is no hurry. Now, what black needs is to join his rook. Black needs his h8 rook on c8. So, preparing to castle. Black king is safe. White needs at least 3-4 moves. H4, H5, Rook G1, and bring the knight queen. It takes 4-5 moves. Meanwhile, black will develop a menacing threats on the white king. You can see the white king is a target. I made it red. And black king is safe. Now, white will be happy if knight takes pawn. Because knight takes and BB7, BB2, and with some counter attack. This taking the pawn, material will be okay, but the initiative will go. So black is not interested in getting the pawn back. Rather develops initiative. Hitting the center. Now h6 is bad. Though the structure is compromised, it is difficult. What white needs is to seize the black square, which is not easy. It's not easy for white to take the black square and dump a piece on f6. So immediately he will close the line. So this threat is some bishop f4. Rook into is risky. Now here if rook into, then d4, pawn into bishop d4. The bishop e4 is risky for white. So he will take rook into bishop, but this is a bad position because white has no more material advantage. He has returned the exchange, but the center is now out of control. The king side is bad. I think it is black should be winning the game. You cannot afford to play rook into d3. Only opening line further, the c4 is not possible. Now c4, dc4 will be crossing. So place here pawn into pawn. Queen c2 and winning. Knight is attacked and mating attack. Only now d4 is not working. Check, and after knight simply finishing the game. 1, 2, 3 mate. Here it is not working. Only move so that he can play pawn d4. If check d4, so eliminating the defender. The pawn into bd4, the same combination. Now too slow. Then time to resign now. Lost. So what I meant to say, this kind of sacrifice players should take into account. Rook into c3. I can show another similar sacrifice. here. A cool sacrifice. If you see, the black is not even castled, not coordinated fully, but the timely. Because if you give time, what will prevent this? Suppose you prepare a cool bishop e7 castle, then he will play knight to e2, and then that will be okay, acceptable for you. So, not giving strike at the first opportunity. Maybe I can show you one game, for example. For example, now this is 6. Now bg5 is the main line, browser is the main line, and second main line is bishop c4. Let us say he plays b, which is Boleslavski. It is not active, and the current statistics shows that 65% is black winning, 35% white winning, leaving the draws among the decisive game. Say 65% for black. For example, after e5, we'll give just an example. Okay, just show you one game. Hello, Paris Kumar. Okay, in Catalan, I will show that. I will show now. Ramakrishna. Okay, let me show a game. NB3 E5. Maybe. Maybe B3 E5 will transpose. Uh, there. For a particular game, I get it here. Maybe I can see here. Okay, I will. I'm not getting that particular game where black gives a extend second piece sacrifice in the early stage. Okay, I will go to the next game. This is a standard main line. Taking advantage of the fact that white has not castled, he is preparing a sacrifice, N5 check, bishop check, knight check, queen h5. In the event bishop on g5, the h5 will open. Bishop check, king into knight check, and bishop on g5 fails to pawn into discover check and winning quickly. All his pieces are ready. So black has to immediately take care of the bishop h7, Greek sack. Necessary. There is no time to develop the knight. Bishop h7 check followed by Knight check is winning. So only move. Now you can see the pawn cover of the king is compromised. Point is, in this position, when you play g6, this is lesser target. The pawn on g6 is protected. But when you play h6, then d6 and d6 becomes vulnerable. Now d4 is bad, forced, and you can see the pressure from the c4 is gone and better position. Ignoring the knight. So it has been tried and tested in earlier game. d4 is not good. So he plays here. Fine. Now, number one, the pawn on h6 has weakened the castle structure and more or less f5 force because of stopping queen c2 plan. But white opens up the game. Once again, the move is forced. There is no time to run away. There is no time for king to f7. Then queen check, and then he can play even bishop g5, knight g5, rook e3. So only move triangle. That is mate. There is no time for bg5 because after check now bishop into, and this is the mating attack. If king e8, bishop g6 check, and king e7, queen into g7 is picking up the rook and winning easily. There is no time for only move you have to take this pawn into g5. No, 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 no. Pawn into g5. Bishop g5 will lead to the same thing. So escape, but there is no escape. Check, check. Rook f7 fails to bishop g5 check. Winning. There is no cover on it. There is no pawn cover. It is all over. So the whole point is when the king is uncastled, these are the things a player must notice. Now everything is different. Everything will be different. The position bg2, now e4. Now here, suppose white plays a calm quiet bg2 and castle, then black is okay. bg2 d5, and thereafter the position is tenable. So here he plays e4, very sharp line, e5. Knight e8, it is possible to play safer move, knight d7, possible. But black plays more aggressively, and after bd3, the position is volatile. Volatile. He should have played here f5. This is the best chance, but even then white is better. f5 is the best way. Now the position already you can see the e6 weakness, e5 square is weak, e6 pawn is a target, and the two bishops are menacing. The position looks quite risky for black. White should play queen e2 and try to take the initiative further. But because he has not castled, this nc3 becomes a self-inviting rook. This is the move. Immediate threat is bishop into h7. Now Anand Bologan, this is a fantastic game. I think one of the best ever attacking game of Visi Anand. One of the best ever. Now you can see white king is also a little bit loose, but all white pieces are in action. The rook on a3, it is coming to g3, f3 anytime. The knight on h5 is waiting to sacrifice himself. Then knight on d4 watching all the squares around, vital squares. And bishop on b1 is also indirectly putting extra pressure on the h7 and f5 squares. So if you look at all pieces, and white king is quite safe. There is hardly any black pieces bothering. And in those days, the Deutsche variation was much more seen in action. After Karpov employed it a lot, then it was discussed more in the match between Short and Sachs. Sax was white and sought black. It was discussed several times. Then Karpo Kasparov. Hello? No, 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 I don't need any finance. Thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption. Now, all pieces are active. Well, you cannot blame because black has nothing better to do. Any pawn push is bad. He cannot do anything. So, crash material is rook into the action. What I move? Taking the knight is bringing a quick end to the game. If you take the knight, it's a quick end. Now, rook e5 loses to rg1 idea. This is I like the game because the king is already on the way and simply king coming and overwhelming. No stopping mate. Unable to block the d5. Rook g1 and finish. I will ignore c2. Pawn c2. You will ignore king h1 and finish. Or king h2. King h1 and finish. So he cannot play rook e5. And if you play h6, trying to get some shelter, trying to exchange coin, don't need. Now the threat is rook. Simply finish. No exchange of rook. I need the attack, he says. Want to exchange the rook desperately, but the attack continues. Now the black is a whole piece up, but unable to defend so many threats. Well, what else you are going to do? He runs to the fourth. The bishop is overloaded and finish. It is very difficult to see calculate so many moves with absolute accuracy. He cannot really accept the knight. What a great calculation. Knight f6. Bolt from the blue. Now he played rook e5. So black postponed that he can capture the knight at a time when the white pieces are not coordinated. Now black is giving a threat of c2. Again, now rook g1 will not work. Hoping that the same variation will occur, that rook g1 he will hope on into. It is not forcing. But wonderful. The point is, after f into g6, the queen will attack the bishop indirectly. Necessary. If you play h into g, queen h4 check is over. Rook h5, knight into, and it's a mating attack. So only move pawn into. The point, the bishop is doubly attacked. In the event of bishop e7, queen filters f7. I like the game. I saw this game over and over again. In those days, I remember when the FIDE knockout was going on. I liked the game so much. I saw it over and over again. Trying to find out if there is any resource or black missed anything. There was nothing. The only, but then take and filter. Too many threads. Just too many threads. Lost. Whatever you do, it is hopeless. Great game by VG Anand. King h7, Queen g6 check, and Queen back check. Now lost. Going live. Yeah. So the next one, this Karyakin versus Anand. You can already see that White's castle position is totally compromised. There is no pawn cover of the White's castle on the queen side. So Black need to find an attack. But it is not easy because the white queen is watching the a5 square. It is and bishop is watching the a7 square. It's not that easy, and Anand finds a way anyway. the idea queen to a8 can come and putting pressure anyway. You need to double the heavy pieces on the f5. So queen c8 and queen a6 is also not available. Now you can see all the squares are guarded by much passed by white. So you cannot come queen. So rook. With the idea queen a8. Now white has defended. Everything looks now under control. And white will start the operation now with pawn h5. But Anand comes out with a deadly knight c7. Welcome. Welcome to take the piece. There is no pawn power of the king. In the event of queen into knight, which he played in the main game, he could have played bd2 also. But then, and attack is coming anyway. Anyway, attack is coming. So bd2 is not working. And after that, bishop b6, then rook into knight. Mate threat, only move. Now mate threat, not queen threat, only move. And it should win. It should win the game. Because the other knight will join the action. And rook will come to b8 queen. Anyway, he's gone. This is also winning. So here he plays queen into knight. There is no other good square. Now queen b6 loses to nc4. Decisive tempo. Knight cannot be taken and so many threats. So only move queen into. Anyway nc4. This is lost now. He is trying a desperate bid for a counter attack. Now mate into is threat. A spite check. Spite check. Finish. Cannot run away. Can nowhere to run. If king c3, rook c2 is a mate. Not mate, mate in 2. Rook c3, queen c4, mate in 2. So, next move, mate in 2. Rook a2 and queen c2. What? It's a great attacking game. Of course, the position already was in control, but I appreciate that knight c7 sacrifice. And look into, I will show in Catalan. So first, let me finish this games. Uh, the lines which I already selected today for the topic. They are very interesting and theoretically also they are important. This is yet another wonderful game which I had covered in my earlier lecture, but the game theme is very interesting. The point is the typical setup because normally here you white plays more aggressive bishop e3 here, bishop e3 and bd3. Bishop d3 is more ideally placed, gunning at the castle position of black. But you have to play be3, bd3, then f4, then f3, etc. The other alternative is be2. The point is, having played already, you see he can't play e5. So, excellent. Now, the attack comes by a queen will go by a d3 to the king side. Pawn f4 will control. So that there is no tactical flaw. Direct f4, knight into knight and bishop c5. So, preparing for f4. Now, knight into knight will only help to bring the queen out. The reason normally you want to attack, normally you should avoid such exchanges. But it is having a particular plan. The idea he wants to bring queen d3 and queen g3 and s3. So he wants to make the queen free. And retreating the knight is not good because if knight on c6, e5 break will come later. So eliminating the knight. Now better was to play bb7 and then c5. This would have been the real test of White's idea. The pressure on center. In this case, what White should do? White should play bb2, rook a e1, and then overprotect the pawn and then start the activity. But it takes time. It takes 3 moves. By that time, black will be consolidated. Suppose white has already bb2 and rook e1, then white can go for the attack. And black castles, white is ready. But it takes time. So he should have played bb7 and c4. Then it is I don't know what would have been in Short's mind. Now the black king is already committed. Now the difference is in that position the black king was not. It was dynamic. When the king is uncastled, it is a dynamic king position. But now the black king is static. So white has a ready-made target. How to open the game against the black king. So he now gives the pawn. Now you have to free. Your queen, the white queen must join the attack. But there is no time to play bishop e d1 queen. It is too slow and passive. So he goes bold. Daredevil. Now you take or I will play bd3. This is the last and final call to black to take the e4 pawn. You take the pawn, then there is lot of open line. I don't think anything is possible better than knight e4. Do or die. He has to play this. The point, again only f5 is bad. If you play f5, it is no here. No. Here f5 is bad. If you play f5, anyway I will take the pawn and then e6 point is weak. Material equal with lot of weaknesses. So only now white is preparing sudden counter attack. He wants to play nd5. The threat is bf6. Immediate threat is nd5. No matter how you capture, then h7 in trouble. That means black has to compromise with the castle pawn structure. Pawn cover of his own king. The whole point of white's pawn sacrifice. Only h6 is bad. If you play h6, then rg3, ready-made sacrifice. Only move. Again bishop knight coming to g4, ne3 ng4 or nf2 ng4. I think it is difficult, very difficult to organize the defense. So he has to play g6, more or less forced. But then this is what exactly Short was aiming for, compromising the pawn cover of the king. Now the black diagonal is powerful, and he has got a series of all his pieces are in action. Even the rook and f1. The threat is knight coming to f2 and knight g4. Pawn into, of course, f5. The point of the thing is that now he is trying to play queen h5. You need to see why black is a strong grandmaster of China. He is preparing to beat back the attack with queen h5. So he stops the plan, interfere with the plan. Necessary capturing the pawn either way is bad. If you play ef5, gf5 is just out of question. After ef5, no. After ef5, then into and followed by this overwin. Betting attack. So you cannot do only move here is to play e5. But then multiple sacrifice. Capture on g6. What else? What else you will do? E4 is it is only temporarily stopping the black diagonal will open. Now bishop c8 does not work. Suppose you try to pin the pawn. No. You try to pin the pawn. Yeah, rook s3 is coming. Finish. So this is the only move. Joining the attack. A very beautifully played attack by Nigel Short. Because opponent is trying to give best possible defense and is coming up every time with a good idea. I don't know whether it is home preparation or played over the board, all the ideas. forced. There is nothing. If you play knight h5, trying to seal the queen's line, then rook will join double. Now rook f8 is not possible. The e7 bishop is hanging. I would say this is there is nothing more left. Only move the rook. Other rook will come to g8, but then rook into rook and the finishing it. Now the only move probably is this. Now rook into rook into rook, check, and then rook. It's all over. So he cannot afford to play knight h5. Knight h5 is not possible. Only great. It is like Nun Porthis. Grandmaster John Nunn finished the same way against Lazarus Porthis on one combination. Rook check, bishop check, discover checkmate. That game continued like this. Check, check. That is how Nunn beat Porthis with this combination. Hello, creative mind. A fine game. It comes in the my theme pawn cover of the king, but a great attacking by Nigel Short. Nigel Short was ruthless against many Sicilian players. This game I liked because White played a lot of accurate games, moves, and not falling for some cheap and coffee house type of moves. The threat is to play d5. Now, if Black is playing careless move like Bishop e7, then White d5, I think the game will be one-sided. For example, now if you place this d5 and unstoppable e4, then an iron-like grip. Simply, it is one-sided. So the attack and everything in favor of white. So that is why now you have to stop d5 only. Or there is whatever you do, you have to stop d5. The idea is to play control the center e4 square. I think this is not a good move. I mean the reputation of this variation is not good. Knight into c3. The center ready made. It is interesting that white could also try here pawn h4, but white king is will be under fire later on. So white castles first decently. Suppose suppose you play nd7. Here white has an interesting idea h4. Because take now g3. Now come back. Now king g2. Now rook is ready, and this is two pieces, four pieces are in action. It is interesting, but you have to take care of your own king. If the bishop was not there, this bishop is gunning against the king. Otherwise, white can go for this kind of setup. Had the bishop been not there, I'm just giving ideas. Now here he plays queen c8. The idea is to exchange the bishop a6 plan. Welcome. That exchange will bring the rook to the third rank. So the same idea icon crops up. Yes, black was very successful, exchanging a very attacking and aggressive piece, but the rook has become active on third rank. What exactly white wanted, compromising the pawn structure. Now, for example, if bg5, then pawn into, then he can play pawn to e5 and then both backward pawns. Now h7, f7, both are backward. g3, king g2, Rook h1 could be a mating attack. So he decided to play f6. Opening up the position, you are forced to close. There is no choice, only very well played. Now, if you play nc5, then pawn e6, d6 is crossing. This is a crossing position because after this, the e7 pawn will be lost. Bishop f8, ng5, and two advanced pass pawns. Your bishop f8 is losing, and even rook d7 is not the force bad. Now rook into g7. There is no time. Now rook into g7 will come. So very interesting. The whole variation. Series of accurate moves. So he played here. Knight c5 is not possible. The only move. G6 is not possible. Now I like the game because why did not play the mechanical queen into d5? Why did not play? Now immediate any young player will go quickly to grab the pawn with a check, but this will spoil that. Now rook is attacked and the end of the attack. So ST queen d5 would have thrown away the initiative. So this is why I liked Sokolov played pleasantly pawn h6. Now you can take the rook. Now taking the rook, intermediary completely rip open the castle position. Forced. You have no time to take. No time. RD3 with four pieces and white has got, black has got a completely naked king. So he cannot afford to do. He cannot afford pawn into only rook. Now, still queen d5 is not correct. So e6 also not. So again very well played. The pawn is protected and now queen d5 is coming. Queen d5 is coming. So you have to stop queen d5. Lost. The game is over. No, it is not the main line. Here g5 is the one who played. G5. Great move. Interesting. If a materialistic player, he will say queen into d5 check something. This. Now, if you play now nd3, step into only move. You have no time to move because queen d5 is killing. Rook e8, queen d5, b6 is killing. So only move. Again only move. Finish. Finish. Queen g4 threat. Finish. So he took bishop into no bishop into g5. Very well played. Threat queen into g5 and mate. Rook g3 check is fluffy because he will not take the rook. He will just go away to king h8. Now the attack is unstoppable. There are a lot of threats. Queen e7 threat, queen g4 threat. Queen is forced to guard. You can't take the rook. Queen into rook is not possible. Knight is e7 check is coming. Forced. You can't go to f line. Now winning because g7 mate and it's unstoppable mate. If you take rook into back rank mate, great attacking game. The reason I picked up a series of accurate moves, avoiding lot of tactical flaws and mechanical moves. Ivan Sokolov is now one of the best coaches in the world, and I think he is training a very strong team in Olympiad. who is in the lead. He was a coach of Iran team for a long time. He just forgot. He is training a very strong team now in Olympia. Is that Poland? Is he coach of Poland? Okay. Or Mikhail Kobalia is coach of Poland. Anyway, it's a beautiful game, beautiful attack by Ivan Sokolov. The threat is knight e4 now. Since BB check is not possible, knight e4 will destroy the center, so it is necessary. Okay, the fashionable line queen f3, early queen f3, which was actually brought to tournament chess by Gary Kasparov. White stands better. All white pieces are now aggressively placed. Now, for example, this now here bishop into f6, bishop into f6, rook into d6, queen f5 will black has counter attack. White wins a pawn, but it is not attractive because the c3 point will doubly attack bf6, bf6, rook d6, queen f5, rook c8 to follow. Not good temporarily. So he avoids the tempting bf6 but goes for queen. Now knight h5 is not good. Now knight h5 is not good. Knight e8. Welcome. You exchange. Then the pawn will come to g5 with h4, h5 in the air. This is the point. Now the pawn structure has been compromised. Castle position. So bishop h4. Going away from the line. Now you can see that the white bishop on b3 is having a gigantic control of the diagonal. That means all white needs the next plan, the rook d3, queen d4, rook s3. With a quick mating attack in the side. The plan is rook to retreat to d3, queen g4, rook s3, queen h5, and even a queen sack. Queen g4. Idea, just retreat the bishop with the tempo or queen h5, queen sack. So you necessary to cover up the diagonal. If you play h6, trying to sell, it is only temporary. The threat is bishop e3, queen g6, and piece sack. It is just not defendable position anymore. For example, the bishop sack is coming. Anyway, bishop sack will come. Idea pawn into rook into. Now bishop sack is not working. The second rank it is guarded. Difficult. Now d6 is a killer. Now pawn d6 is a killer. Knight e4 is coming. The sacrifice on h6 is coming. White pieces are all over black's castle position. So he cannot afford to play h6. The only way he tries to close the white diagonal. The threat is now it's queen g6. Now simply is threatening queen g6. The queen is already overloaded. You cannot play queen e8. The d5 point. Now queen g6 is coming. So you cannot stop that. Only rook into. Idea queen check, rook d3 and mate. Idea queen h5, queen g6, rook d3 and rook s3. Over. Should be over. So what I meant to say, the whole point is, where did he go wrong? tell you. I will tell you here. Here at this point, he took this is psychological and it is an error. He should play calmly. Cold-blooded BE7, asking him to continue. Now, if you play, of course, White gets some initiative temporary. Takes, and now lose. The threat is pawn e5. No, the threat is queen to move, then overprotecting the pawn. So this is not dangerous because four minor pieces are out of the board, and it is only a small technical edge for white. That's all. This game I picked up because the queen sack in return for piece play and attack on the white king. Or standard pattern of theory, intermediary move. The point of Smaslow's piece set. This is the point he had calculated perfectly. Now it is not easy. For being exchanged down, black has got sufficient compensation. The g4 pawn is attacked three times, and the b2 pawn also indirectly attacked by the bishop and it is Seki. So black has space and better control of all lot of open lines. And the g5 bishop is hanging. This was criticized. It was queen b5 was called for, so that you are gunning against the bishop directly. And d3 can come the bishop. So anyway, it is over the board. It is not easy. So he played queen b4. Now the reason he has played so that the d7 pawn. This is the critical moment. Black is giving a deadly threat. Knight f3 check and some discover checks. Now bishop and bishop will not solve the problem. So he comes here. This is where black sacrificed the queen. If you look at the material side, already black is slightly disadvantaged in material. Exchange down for some compensation. Now he offers the queen. Check. Take it. Forced rook into queen. A discover check first. Check again. Now, if you look, black has got three minor pieces and one pass pawn in the center. So, in reality, black is risking little because the f3 knight is protected by the bishop. The only bishop b2 is unprotected, and that too is a best shot e5. So, I would say a modern master will easily accept such a position because three pieces are better than queen in any position when the other factors are not compromised. Here, not only black has three pieces for the queen, but the white king position and the pawn power is compromised. I would say this somewhat similar to the game Alekhine and Reddy. Alekhine playing black against Reddy in such a similar combination situation. Okay, Ramakrishna, Uzbekistan captain is Ivan Sakov. That is what I was wondering. He is taking Uzbekistan to such a strong position, going for the silver or bronze. I don't know what is the final result today. Hello, Mr. Solanki. Welcome. Okay, okay. Uzbekistan captain. All right. So, to the centralization, so that no surprise checks. Everything is well protected. Self-supported pieces. Now the rook joins the fray. Rook c2, rook f2, and it is all over. Only move. Again the only move. Back rank. Rook is tied down to the back rank now. Now bf2. Oh, sorry, bd4 is coming. Now he is preparing bd4, which cannot be stopped, and it is so quite resign. So you can see a terrific piece play. Of course, the compensation was more than enough. Three minor pieces and a pawn, and lot of targets on the white king. Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan got gold. Would you believe that? Okay, okay, I have to see. I did not check the result today. All right. Great game by Vasily Smyslov. Now, this position, young Magnus Carlsen, it has got a good position, good control of centralized pieces. But then, the simple plan of attack. Normally, we get such a situation in that Tatakor variation of Karokan B15. B15, we get such a situation. Pawn structure is bad and white plan for H4, H5. Here it is much more easier. So, young Carlsen goes for the initiative H4, H5 plan opening the H5. Very well played. There is no threat. There is immediately no activity. So, now all white wants to double the H5 emitting attack. Defense is here. And the point is now rook check is a threat. So comes back for defense. Well, black is trying what best he could do. The strong grandmaster from Denmark and also a good coach. The threat is now any moment I can, if I can rook check, queen check and mate. Immediately, if white is black is not noticing, rook h8 check, king into queen h6 check and mate. So priority only stopping that idea. But then double the it's over. The king will run away, but where? King will run away to f8, but where? How far he will go? Check. The idea is to reduce black's attacking forces. Idea made force. Beautiful play. Of course. Okay. Let's cover. You are new to the file. Welcome. All right. You can see today's games were a lot of firework I discussed. So this is a very easy game. Even an average player can find this plan. So I think I will go to some thematic positions. One more game. One more thematic game. This game also I like very much. Ferenc Berkes is a very strong grandmaster from Hungary who played for the World Junior Championship and got decent ranking in 2010. All right, this particular position, the Rubinstein variation gives white a center and activity. But the way Judith Polgar conducted the attack is exemplary. Now the plan of black is simple. You bring idea a b6, bb7 and pawn c5. Neutralizing center after b6, bb7 and c5. If white is not doing any activity, black will soon equalize. Simple b6, bb7 and c5. Preparing for that strike. But bishop d3. There is no time for bb7 and c5. Already a strike. You have to compromise the pawn structure. Knight f6 does not work. If knight f6, knight e5. Russian knight will enter e5 with a dual threats c6 and f7. Then h4 h5 is on the air. You can't play check, and now lovely move. The point is, if you play h4, black will not oblige by taking the knight. Now thinking h4 is wonderful, but he will not take the knight. He will play simply bb7, knight f6, survive. So this gives some time. You need to compromise. If you play rook b8, then the knight will come with a tempo later. Now RB8 is not working. H4, you cannot now take the knight even for next few moves, and I will have time to build up queen h4, knight e5 with a decisive attack. Next, knight e5 immediately is bad. Knight on knight and exchange queen, but queen f4 and then knight e5, killing. So this is terrible. So in this case, what happens? Pawn into knight. With the idea, black says, "You take my rook," but the attack is beaten back. The attack is beaten back, and also he has got a good counterplay in the center also. So how to conduct the attack? If white will play h4, black will close the line with g4. Black's idea h4 can be met with g4, but white wants to pry open the h file at any cost. So the defense is g4. Now destroy the defense part. So beautifully Judith played here g4 first. Now the simple threat is h4 and open the file. And in case of g into h4, pawn g4. By the way, rook is under attack. White is simply preparing h4 threat, and the rook is also hanging h4. Now g into h4, pawn g5 is crossing. Now g h4, g5 is crossing. Attack is unstoppable. So he played here g6 idea, king g7 and rook h8 will survive for a longer period. It is only a concept. He will not survive. Queen f4. Queen f4. Now what happens? The f7 pawn under watch means black must take care of f7 pawn. Knight e5. If you take pawn into e5 and the queen is under attack. Later on, not knight e5 immediately. The g5 needs protection. This is the point. Now, if you play rook h8, that is surviving. The g5 is not under pressure with the initiative. With initiative. So here he played bishop here, but then rook check. Idea queen check and rook. Queen check. If king g7, queen h6 check will push so that no rook h8. If king g7, first queen check h6 and then trouble. I think he has to surrender the queen. Forced surrender. There is no way to stop that. You need to go. You need to. Well, here uh, I doubt that anyway, because anyway if you move the king, you will play shamelessly queen h5. Okay, so you just place take, and now this is lost position. So the whole concept is the attacking. I beautifully played, which is the move here. Ng5 is okay, and that check and a tempo and pawn into g4. What a lovely move. The pawn car of the king will be opened any cost. All right. So I selected a lot of games now. Some old games. I will give you some old thematic games. Okay, this is a semi-terrace position, Indo-Indian position. It comes necessary. Now rook e1 is the main position. This diagram comes from nearly 10 openings. Rook e1 is the main move. Knight d4 is unplayable. Knight and bishop check. Now the white plan is simple and clear. White wants to play a3, bc2, queen d3, bg5, rook at d1 and start activity. We have seen in many games, many hundreds of games have been played on this channel, thousands of games. It can come from Karokan Pano attack, Semi Taras, it can come from Indo Indian, it can come from English opening. Many openings it comes. With the idea, bishop c2, queen d3 and bg5. The idea is bg5 and rook at d1 with attack. This is a bad. At this point, this is a bad. You need to play. You need to play g6 now. G6 it is necessary. After bishop f6, rook e8, bishop a4, a6. White is better anyway. We have seen the game between white is Smyslov, black is Karpov. With the idea rook at d1, queen e3, white managed a great attack. But this is a blunder. I give you time. I give you time. Think for 2-3 minutes. How should white play? Very good, Ramakrishna. The deep knight on f6 is overloaded. Knight on f6 is overloaded. So the d5 capture. D5. He cannot capture with the pawn. He cannot capture with the knight. He can capture with the pawn, but that leads to a decisive attack. Rather, only the threat tempo g6 does not work. After g6, rook into e7, another punch. Now g6 fail to a deadly rook into. Queen has to take, and this is the end of the killing the pet of black. So g6 is too late for him. So only move here is to play knight e4. But then knight into queen into mate threat, only move queen h4. Idea you exchange knight into bishop and h7 under attack. There is no time. f6 failed to bishop check crossing. Bishop check is overwhelming. So only move. The threat is now bishop into h7. Bishop into f7 is a deadly threat. And this will invite the knight. Only move, rather only move. Now, Petrosian finished in grand style. The threat is queen g6 check and mate. Bishop into f7, what a move, what a move, what a move. A series of moves, one mistake and such severe punishment. He just played rook e8. Little did he think that this is the diagram coming. After king into, he has got bishop h6 with multiple threats. Queen e6 threat, queen c4 threat, bishop cutting off the direct mate in one is threatened. And queen c4 is also deadly. The only move is queen d6 to survive mate for some time. Surviving, but not hasty queen check, but rook at. Queen check is working. Queen check is working. Only move king f6. This is deadly. Now there are so many two pawns, one pawn up in the decisive position. fantastic. So a pawn cover of the king. What was he played this move? Rook c8. Rook e8. Rook e8. What for this move? What severe punishment? Rook says g4. But what point? No g4. Great attacking game. Petrosian. London setup. With the idea pawn into pawn and pressure on c7. So you have to watch pawn into pawn and bishop c7. Necessary. Now b4 is a threat. White has built up a nice setup of centralized pieces and ready for activity. Well, I would say the move BG5 is unpleasant. For some reason, black did not like that white will come to play BG5 at some point of time. So then he needs the knight for h7 defense. So he stopped. But I think there could be a better way to play because less ambitious b7 was called for. This is better to play b7 instead of compromising the pawn structure. Now the rook is ready to come to d2. So he moves away. Now the defender of the king, that is the only defender of the castle position. He wants to eliminate. Knight on knight will terrible. Queen g4 is terrible. A tempo again. I think it is difficult. The position is already very critical. Four pieces ready, and the rook on e1 is waiting to come to third rank to join the fray. Now four pieces are ready. The idea is bishop to c2 and third rank oppression. Well, he could not stand that, but it is difficult. Whatever you do, the position is already bad. And this brings a quick end because a different kind of tactics comes. Now, a player may think, why should he do block that? Because this is the place of rook. So, why not bring the knight? But this is having an idea. Knight into f5. Suddenly, the queen runs out of square. I saw a game of Leonard Stein versus Lubuzovic, I think. The queen got trapped in a similar way. A pawn into bishop into f5 traps the queen or winning the queen easily. So the only defense of rook d7 which is lost. Pawn into knight, bishop f5 is game over. Two pawns, rook and initiative. Takes, then rook d7, queen g4, it's over. So he decided to play bishop into c3. But then knight intermediary, the only move, check, only move. Now, the only move, the queen cannot come because queen is overloaded anyway. If queen comes, queen check, and or maybe rook into pawn with the idea queen h7 and queen h8. Of course, he can win a piece right immediately with the queen check and queen into check, but he wants to join the rook mate. The idea is to give mate. Idea rook f6 with a mating attack. Check. He resigned in view of the back rank is not there. Bishop check. Now queen. Now he has to bring the knight in between. The back rank is gone. So then he will pick up the queen. Okay, bishop and knight also winning. Anything is winning. Queen is. The whole point is Here, this is not. He should have played here bishop e7. More stronger resistance was possible. Okay. Hello, Himanshu Dave. Okay, it's actually a surprising result because that Sindaro and all. Nowadays everything anything can happen. Lot of amazing things are happening. So, who knows the reality? I hope you understand. Who knows the reality? Doesn't matter. It's a great achievement for a small country like Uzbekistan. Okay, so a regular standard line of old Indian defense. I think this is a bit hasty line. It was queen to c7 with the idea, a6 and rook b8 and b5 is called for. It is better to play queen c7. Now opening the file for activity backfires. Backfires. Which sub attack only move. Now again compromising. Bishop s3. You are forced to compromise the structure. Now if you play e4, there is a hole on d4. Bishop d6 will come, knight f4 will come, c5. So necessary knight e4. Where are you ng1? Run away. Structurally he is outplayed. Lot of weak squares and the king position, castle position is compromised severely. The whole point is, one may wonder, you may ask me, what is happening now? But as and when the game goes up and opens more and more, a few exchanges takes place, then the black king's vulnerability will be apparent. The pressure mounts. Already four pressure. Well, he is running out of moves now. Now white needs a regrouping. Though white's pawn structure is also weaker king side, but white has some more cover, so he improves slowly. The was the Petrosian, according to Fisher, he knew the perfect regrouping of his pieces going to the perfect square. For example, in the position, the knight on e4. It is called for. So he is heading towards correct way. Correct way. Knight s3. Keeping an eye on g5. Now it looks to innocent player's eye that knight is watching the g5 square. You have to be careful. Not really. Knight. No hurry. He is in no hurry to move the queen and play in e4. There is a threat. Queen h6 is coming. Now the threat is real because he is threatening to win material now. The queen h6 and rook f1 picking up a piece. So he is trying to run away. The idea the knight is, defended. Now the rook can defend, but this simply loses a rook check. A deadly rook check On h2, h7, I'm sorry, h7, finishing the game in style. Rook h7 can resign. Anyway, it is a lost position. Anyway, rook h8 is losing. Rook h8 is losing to rook into rook, and king f7 losing, rook f1, and queen g4 loses to rook check. This is the old Indian defense. Now, queen b3 is not danger. rb8 is okay. Theoretically, this is perfectly playable game. So there is no risk. Queen b3 does not work. Now g3 he will compromise. h7 to f3, and the king side pawn structure becomes bad. So there is challenges e4. It is necessary. The point is later on he wants to play. Suppose you do not get the d5 and knight e5, knight c5, and d2 with an advantage. So, just a minute. Charger. I need the charger.